It's Thursday, September 27th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, we talk trash with the town manager, and we preview the new school security visitor system rolling out to all schools in the Barnstable School District on October 1st. Here's some news you can use. The 26th session of Inside Barnstable Town Government, a Citizens Leadership Academy, will begin Tuesday, January 29th, 2019. The Academy is an 11-week commitment with the goal of educating the citizens of Barnstable about the operations of town government, while also obtaining valuable feedback and participation from those citizens participating in the Academy. The program is designed to advance understanding of and participation in civic affairs, as well as to increase awareness of the challenges facing municipal government. The classes will be on Tuesday evenings from 6:30 to 9 p.m. and will be held in various locations throughout the town. The classes will be conducted by town staff and provide interactive learning experiences, group discussions, and site tours. The program is free of charge and open to anyone who resides or works in the town of Barnstable. Class size is limited. Please register early to avoid the waiting list. Applications are available at the town manager's office, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, or online at www.townofbarnstable.us. Recycling changes at the Barnstable transfer station are set to begin on Monday, October 1st, and Town Manager Mark Ells joined us in the studio to talk about reducing, reusing, and recycling our waste stream. Changes coming to recycling. Here to talk trash with me, Town Manager Mark Ells. Mark, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm well. So you have one happy camper here that single stream is no longer going to be accepted 60 days or so as we get into the new separation. But why don't we give residents a little overview on how this change came about?
Well, the change is a result of the market for recyclable products changing. And so over the last several years, most communities have moved to what you've referred to as single stream, which means everything that's recyclable can be thrown in together, and then it goes to market, and that market sometimes has the ability to sort it again, but in general they can sell it as a secondary product to be recycled into something else somewhere in the world. Well, almost a couple of years ago at this point, that began to change, and those markets changed. And they began saying that single stream wasn't a product that they could use. Therefore, what you see us doing is responding to that and going back to a sorted recycled product that will separate out all the things. If you've participated in recycling for a while, this won't be new. This will be the way you used to do it, which is glass. I'm not sure if they go, you'll have to ask PJ Kelleher when he's in here visiting with you about, is it clear and then separating into the colors of glass. Certainly corrugated, newsprint, some plastics, tin and metals, not scrap metals that you throw in the scrap metal pile, that's different. These are tin cans primarily. And I'd have to find out what other products may be out there. For years we didn't allow, when we had sorted, we had no market for miscellaneous paper, for example. We had no market for certain number plastics. And actually we were quite strong in the recycling market, even though a lot of people argued with us that it made no sense to do the sort of manual effort to sort that our facility did. But you know what? We always stayed in control in the event that the recycling market changed. We don't have that control anymore because we went to single stream. Now the market drives us, and we react to the market versus us having sorted this to a point where we can say, hey, you know what? We're going to take this commodity over here. We're going to sit on glass for a while and store it. And we've had to do that. In my involvement with solid waste, at times I've seen us hold different commodities, different recyclable products till a market recovered, I've seen us hold them as much as 18 months. It becomes a storage capacity at a certain point. Certainly a health issue. You don't want to create, problems there. But so we're going back to a sorted environment. We're going to keep some bins in for the people who forget for about 2 months, and then you're not going to be able to do that anymore. Meaning you're not going to be able to bring in single stream, mix all your recyclables together and throw them in one bin. That market doesn't exist.
Right. And part of that market as well was sometimes the approach of the person who was recycling, thinking that they could throw all sorts of different things in there. So the single stream had become contaminated. Real people actually separated that stuff as well. So that stream as a contamination, there were things in there that didn't belong. So there's a lot of different issues around single stream. Going back to the separated, really what it comes down to is we just have too much stuff.
Yeah, we need to rethink this one right from the beginning of our thought about what we do with the products we buy, and then kind of those secondary issues that come after buying a product. And, for me, this is about reducing the waste stream, reusing the waste stream, and then recycling the waste stream where possible, and then whatever's left you throw away. Right. And you've got to pay a tipping fee to dispose of that. It can either be, as long as it's a licensed way, typically it's incinerated at a waste energy facility. So, in some sense, even a waste-to-energy facility is reusing it to create electricity. It's not recognized as a recyclable, though. So then we back up and we think about each of those. And I think we need to have discussions with our residents about, and this isn't just Barnstable, this is everywhere. Have discussions with people about what you're buying. I gave the example at Town Council where purchasing off the internet's wonderful. But now I get a big box with a whole bunch of plastic stuffing in it, with a little box, or sometimes the product, like I'd buy it off the shelf, but sometimes not. Sometimes a little box and then the product, depending on what it is I'm buying. That's a lot of additional material. Now, corrugated, which is typically the outer box, can be recycled. Good. Got to separate that out. Plastics inside. Maybe we can, given that so many people are doing this, we should see if there's a market to recycle stuffing in its various forms. There must be, especially the ones that are full of air. They're like little balloons, little pillows. We pop those, they go in the trash. Right. People were throwing them in the single stream. No, that's trash. But think about this. So that's one example of modification.
You could buy
reduction.
local. You could buy local.
Well,
and not have
I'm not trying to discourage purchasing on the internet because there's huge benefits to that as well. So, but we need to think about this and then what we do with it. The same as going to the store and buying something. And do you need to buy products with all the packaging? Every product you buy always has a customer satisfaction contact, email or telephone or whatever. You ought to just ask, because ultimately, you buy a plastic container of deodorant, you don't need the box around it. It might make it better for shipping or storage or information or prettier, but you don't need it. You can buy the plastic container. Yep. If you go to the dollar store, that's how they come. None of them have that packaging. You know why? Because it's less expensive. So we as consumers need to think about the products we're buying, the waste that we're producing as a result of the products, and then we just need to make decisions. The decision that you can't make without ramifications is, well, I'm just going to do it and throw it away and not expect to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it up front, and you're going to pay for it on the back end. If everybody's okay with that, I think the regulators aren't. They don't want to see waste streams increase. But as a consumer, you could make that decision. So coming back to your first question, why did this all happen? The recycling market changed. Even though you call it recyclable, you really have to go down the line and say, okay, how are we recycling this? Well, we're not. So then what's really happening? It's probably being thrown away.
Right.
That's the truth.
Yep.
Because if there's no market to be recycled, unless you can sit on it for a certain amount of time, wait out the market, and then bring it back when the market re-emerges, the stuff's going to get thrown away.
Right.
So right now we're paying $56 maybe a ton for waste. For the single stream to get rid of that, last count it was I think $109 or $110 a ton.
Wow.
And it's not being recycled. So where's it going? So we're paying more, and I don't know that it's being recycled. They may try to sort it and bring it to market. But if it's contaminated like you just described, meaning, you didn't take all the milk out and everything's wet, or there's food residual on it, or they threw a bunch of containers that are kind of the plasticky looking frozen containers in there. And none of that was recyclable. Food waste, milk, freezer boxes that you have.
The little pillow
None of those
things
were
you just said.
recycling to begin with and shouldn't have been in the waste stream, but they're in there. And now that even makes it a more difficult problem because it isn't just recyclables you're going to sort, so you have that added cost and time. Now it's stuff in there that you can't do anything with and creates real problems when there's a market like we see now. We've gone through cycles like this before. We always had sorted in place, so we were able to adapt better. They were challenging, but better. This time we had gone to the single stream. And really we were driven by the market. There was a lot of criticism that we didn't offer single stream, so we went there ultimately. It's criticism by our customers. And so, because it's more convenient and it's easier to have one big bin with what you think is recyclable. That doesn't work anymore. And we need to go back to what we were doing and then watch the market. And I think in addition to that, we need to start working with our residents. My recommendation is 6th and 7th graders because they listen. They modify behavior. Somebody like me isn't going to readily modify behavior, even though I might know it's the best thing to do. But young people seem to be very adaptive. Start educating, so in the future they think about how do we reuse these things we buy? How do we reduce it and not buy it at all? And then how do we recycle what there's a market to recycle? And bring that forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like the piece that's reusing as well, because there's a lot of products out there that you purchase that either the packaging and or the product itself can be reused. Not necessarily always by yourself. It might be an organization out there. Just trying to get some information. Hopefully, in the next few weeks, we'll have some things here on Barnstable Today that'll talk about how you can reuse or reduce. And then ultimately, the recycling, it'll take some time for people to get the message that we're back to the separation of that. Your thoughts on the markets for some of these recyclables? Cardboard always seems to have a market.
Probably because it's domestic. In the case of the single stream, it was primarily not domestic.
Right.
It was shipping it out of country. So if it's a clean, separated, we never recommended, in fact, if you brought in a single stream and it was full of corrugated cardboard, we would educate you to remove it the next time, because there's been a maintainable market for clean corrugated. So I don't really, it's probably turned into the same products that it has been, and therefore the market is supported with that particular product. And we need to look at that in every case. I don't know specifically why that has been sustainable. I'm assuming that there's reuse opportunities or recycle to reuse, meaning they're producing it into something else.
Or the same thing.
Or turn it back
right.
into, I mean, right, absolutely.
And glass has recently come into the news that you can reuse some recycled glass in construction materials. So there seems to be some market for that.
I mean, I studied that almost 40 years ago when I was going to school for engineering. So, I mean, that's not changed. What, the reality of it is when you turn to a customer and you say, okay, we can do this. We can utilize these products, take them from the waste stream, utilize them in lieu of something else. Then the next question is, okay, well, how much will that product with the recycled cost versus how much with sand or whatever you're replacing with glass, how much will that cost? And am I willing as a consumer to bear that cost? So there's another decision point, again, as a consumer, that we have a tremendous amount of influence over. Not a lot, people don't sit down and think through that a lot of times, just because why would they, unless they're tasked with trying to manage that issue. But that's truly what it comes down to. All of this is driven not only by being very conscious of the environment and trying to do the recycling aspect correctly, but really trying to quantify, the dollar and cents costs are easier to add up. The non-monetary stuff is tougher, and that's a big issue when we're looking at the environment. We got to really look at both. But at the end of the day, is the consumer willing to bear the cost? And if they're not, then what? You're going to force them to do recycling programs, and then they're going to look to subsidize that because the consumer doesn't want to pay for it, but the regulator's telling you have to do it. So then we're going to take money from where to subsidize that? And is this effort a greater priority than that other area? Because we only have so much money. And that becomes a big part of managing the issues. So.
Right. So first off, reduce.
Absolutely.
Right? Then reuse.
Yeah, I would encourage it.
And then recycle.
Yep.
Excellent.
Where markets allow.
Where markets allow.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Mark.
Well, thanks for having me.
School safety is always a paramount concern in the Barnstable Public School District, and changes are on the horizon for visitors to our area schools. Over 22,000 schools nationwide protect their students and their campuses with the Raptor system, and Barnstable will implement the system coming Monday, October 1st in all schools.
Previously, we had a paper system where the visitor will come to the administrative area of the school and sign in on a paper log. We would issue them a sticky type identification badge. Some schools also have a pendant, and they would wear that through the school, and then when they leave departing, they were supposed to return that. As the visitors were leaving the premise, when they were through with their business, they would return to the administrative office and sign out and return the badge or the sticker. Many times visitors would leave with the badge on. We didn't have a good system. As you'll see later on, that this new Raptor system, the badge actually will have a watermark on it that shows that it's void after 8 hours, so it's not reusable, which we kind of like. But also, it allows us to maintain a database that we can look at district-wide. We could tell who's in every school from any particular time during the day. So from a security standpoint, it's very useful.
The way we researched new visitor management software was basically I looked around for other educational softwares, talked to other school districts, and see what other schools have been using. And we came to Raptor because some local school districts have been using it as well for anywhere from 3 to 5 years, and we did some demos and realized that it was a software that we would like to use for our district.
Visitors need to check in the schools mostly so that we can do a brief background check. Our paper system, one of the deficiencies was that it wasn't able to do checks. This current system is able to do a background check for sex offenders through 50 states. So we now have that's just in place where we can do a proper check there every time we have a visitor or a contractor or a volunteer. So we will use this system on anybody who enters the doors on our property. Also, they need to check in the schools so that the school administration is aware of who is on the premise at all times, and just allow us to make sure that our perimeter is secure and our children are safe.
So another great feature about Raptor, beyond the sex offender registry check in all 50 states, is each building is allowed to make a custom list. This could include any parents that may not have custodial rights to their children in the building, or somebody that has been given a no trespass order from the police station, so that we are notified of those people when they try to log in as a visitor.
We spoke briefly with the police department, let them know that we were looking at various software seats and platforms, and they're familiar with this and encouraged that we move ahead with the system. We also had spoken to some other school districts that utilize the system and found that they were very satisfied with it. There are currently in the United States about 20,000 school districts using Raptor, so it's probably the leader in visitor identification systems in the country, and is one of the reasons why we went with it as well.
What we liked about the Raptor demo was the ease of use for the end user. Every administrative assistant, every administrator in the district, it will be very easily to implement. It's not hard to figure out, so I think that was the selling point for us on Raptor. For Raptor software, the installation process is quite simple. We install the drivers for the ID scanner, the thermal badge printer, and just install simple software on the main computer using it. The database is also cloud-based, so anybody with a login credential can access the reporting features from any computer with internet access, which is also a huge plus for us in using this software district-wide. So the way we'll be rolling out Raptor across the district, it's simultaneous. Right now, we're uploading all of our user settings, our alert settings, and training staff that will be utilizing the software. We will launch it live, so every main office or main desk where visitors would check in will be using the software.
So they can expect it won't be too different than other visits or previous visits. All schools require that people check in, so the visitors will need to check in. The first time they'll need to present a driver's license or some form of identification. It doesn't necessarily have to be a driver's license. It could be an ID card, a passport, but some government-issued identification. It will be scanned. If there are no problems, immediately, it doesn't take very long at all for a badge to pop out. Once they've been scanned and it's cleared, they've been scanned and cleared, next visits they'll be in the database, and they will just have to present their name on entry, and as long as there are no issues with their records or anything has changed as far as their status, we'll print a badge. So they won't have to provide their driver's license every time they'll be in the database. So that's another nice thing about the system. So it shouldn't be an inconvenience to anybody.
So the only thing that the Raptor software records is first name, last name, date of birth, and it will pull the identification number off of the ID. It doesn't record an address off the ID or any other information. So that's the nice thing about Raptor. We don't pull anything that we don't need to use for the background check or the sex offender registry check.
They will just have to present their name on entry, and as long as there are no issues with their records or anything has changed as far as their status, we'll print a badge. So they won't have to provide their driver's license every time they'll be in the database. So that's another nice thing about the system. So it shouldn't be an inconvenience to anybody. We want parents to know that we're implementing the system to help keep the children safe and also the staff safe by just making sure that people who enter our schools have been screened and there are no issues, and again they're properly identified as they walk around the school. I think everybody feels better if they see somebody has an ID on with a photo on it, and they know it's current, and they know that person has passed a check that day. I think it's a better feeling for everyone, and that their environment's safer and secure, and the person they're looking at has been checked out.
Here's a look at the community calendar. Barnstable Village is the place to be on Saturday, September 29th for a gathering of Doxies, Wiener wannabes, and Dachshund lovers and friends. The event kicks off at noon with the first ever Wiener Waddle and Wagging Parade, then cheer on your favorite Doxy in the Doxy Dash. Think you have the longest dachshund or the teeniest weenie? Enter contest to win prizes and bragging rights. So come on out and sing the official Dox song, mingle, and meet other Doxies to benefit local animal organizations. All events take place behind the courthouse on Main Street in Barnstable Village. Bring along a packaged pet food and cat litter for Cape Cod shelters. More information at www.ccdoxyday.com. Comments, suggestions, accolades? Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. Email us or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works for you. I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.